they're not taking it out, well, at least the direction it's going.
Trying to pull him off.
Really? Oh, right, so this actually might try and see. I think the paramedics are trying to take him, and I think everyone else is trying, just fairly determined not to let him go. So this is turning into a very, very nasty sort of tug of war over the well-being of this man, regardless of what he is or isn't as a policeman. This is pretty bad stuff. Okay, it looks like the paramedics have had their way, and they're being chased down now. They try to get him away. I think we'll just go. Sorry, I just need to catch up, Mark, with this. It's a bit difficult. There's lots of people everywhere. Okay, so you can see two ambulances in the distance. Some of these people are happy that this prize of theirs, I suppose you might describe it, we're running out of money.
But is it a flashpoint that may bring some sort of sanity to this situation and these two sides together?
Well, I certainly hope so. I'm sure many people watching it would be very, very worried and very alarmed. So this is the time for people who have access to the government and to talk to them. And of course, if some concessions can be made, I'm sure the temperature would cool down. Because I don't think many people want to see such scenes at our international airport. And this is, it's no longer a peaceful demonstration.
No, it isn't any longer a peaceful demonstration. And let me just show viewers the pictures from a few minutes ago at the airport you're looking at now. And it was an alleged undercover police officer being taken out after being beaten and stamped upon by some of the protesters, we should emphasize. Others did try to protect him. But this is the scene as these paramedics and ambulancemen try to get this individual to an ambulance. And it was not easy, and it took a long time through those protesters. And one wonders what images like this will do for the support that these protesters have been enjoying, Emily Lau.
Well, I certainly hope that everybody would calm down. And, if we want to adopt peaceful demonstrations, that's what Hong Kong used to be famous for. And we get a lot of support all over the world. And I hope that we will stick to that and not try to do things that would lose support and sympathy.
And just finally, what would your message be to the Chinese authorities who may be looking at images that we're looking at and thinking the time has come to instruct the Hong Kong authorities to invite them in to restore law and order? What would your message be if they were thinking about that?
Well, I certainly hope the Chinese government would not even think about, sending the People's Liberation Army onto the streets of Hong Kong, into the airport. There is no need for it. I mean, these people just want the government to set up an independent commission of inquiry. They are not looters, they are not rioters, they're not breaking windows, killing people. So I certainly hope the Chinese government would recognize that, and I hope the business community who can talk to Beijing will also urge Beijing to come out and be sensible.
Okay, Emily Lau, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it. We know it's late in the morning there. It is 20 to 1 at night in Hong Kong. Thank you very much indeed. I'm joined now from Hong Kong too by Andrew Leung, who is Hong Kong's former chief representative to the UK. Thank you very much for joining us, Andrew Leung. I guess you've been following what's been happening at the airport. What do you make of the pictures you've been seeing?
Well, it's very, very ugly. In fact, it is, again, giving the protests a bad name. I mean, there's a stopping people injured, even if it's the other side of the camp, from being rescued and going to the ambulance in the international airport. But it also suggests that the protesters are upping the ante and trying to internationalize their protest movement, and trying to hold the Hong Kong's law and order to ransom in order to press home their demands. But of course, that as far as the Hong Kong government is concerned, Carrie Lam did offer to meet with the protesters, but they were flatly refused unless the government acceded to all, not some, but all of their demands. And some of the demands are virtually impossible to meet. For example, immediate release of all those who have been arrested, including those who committed acts of riot or atrocity, and various other things. But as far as the Beijing is concerned, the last thing Beijing wants is to send in the People's Liberation Army, because that is increasingly seen by Beijing as a trap by the protesters to make China destroy the one country, two systems.
Andrew Leung, we appreciate your time. Thank you for being so patient and joining us tonight. Thank you. And let's just have a recap on where we are with all this in Hong Kong, what's been happening throughout the last couple of hours. And violent clashes broke out between pro-democracy protesters and police inside Hong Kong airport following what amounts to a demonstrator sit-in, which caused the cancellation of all outbound flights for 2 consecutive days, or outbound flights certainly from lunchtime onwards. At 4 o'clock UK time, 11 p.m. in Hong Kong, police entered the terminal building, but were met with protesters who shone lasers and threw missiles, you can see there. That forced those officers to retreat out of the airport and into waiting police buses. They were replaced just moments later by riot police armed with shields and batons who have been regularly deployed on the streets of Hong Kong. A number of protesters were filmed being detained and arrested by those police. Officers also used pepper spray to push protesters back into the terminal building, and protesters then used barriers and luggage trolleys to barricade themselves in. And then a slightly sinister turn. Protesters then surrounded a man who they believed to be an undercover police officer. He was inside a circle, this circle of people. His hands were cuffed or with luggage ties, cable ties. And the Hong Kong police force sent out a tweet that what they described as a visitor had allegedly been assaulted at the airport and needed immediate medical attention. But the protesters seemed to be claiming that he was in fact an undercover policeman, and that is the man you can see there being detained and restrained with luggage ties, and in fact tied to a luggage trolley. Now, as I say, he was attacked by some of the protesters. Others did protect him, and in the last half an hour the man was seen being rushed away on a stretcher by paramedics before being put into an ambulance and being taken away to hospital and treatment. So that is where we are in Hong Kong. I'm joined on the phone now by Kwok Ka-ki, a member of the Pro-Democracy Civic Party, a politician and member of the Legislative Council in Hong Kong. Thank you very much for joining us. And I wonder if you could just tell us what you make of these pictures. They were very unpleasant pictures for a while when the undercover officer was being beaten.
Yes, unfortunately, what happened in Hong Kong is the people actually lose all their trust to the government as well as the police. So whenever they saw something strange or, cover up, or anybody maybe coming from mainland have a political mission, like to have turning on conflict or assault, even assault, which has been we saw it in some of the areas in Hong Kong, like North Point and also in Tsuen Wan. So people are very annoyed, and the young people, one of the young lady has lost one eye, and a lot of the young people, according to reports from the media, that a lot of people actually have very severe injury as a result of the violence from the police. At least tens of these young people have the fractures of the bones, head injury, brain damage, a lot of very severe outcome as a result of the arrest and very violent enforcement by the police on Sunday evening. So as a result, people are so angry that most of the people, not only the young, very aggressive young people, but families, ladies taking their children to the airport just to demonstrate, they're angry.
But surely, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but surely, attacking an unprotected, defenseless man, whether undercover police officer or not, does mean you lose the high ground when it comes to violence in these protests.
Yes, exactly. So that's why me and other colleagues, we are in the airport trying to stop this violence. Now, we all understand that violence will not cure anything. It will not deal with or will not solve any problem. But obviously, the root of the violence is not for the young people. The root of the violence is actually from the mainland government and the SAR government through Carrie Lam. Now
the danger. I've got to say, Mr. Kwok, the danger is that the violence gets a lot worse, and there has to be a way out of this. So, what is the way out of this? What should happen now?
The only way out, which in Hong Kong have most of the consensus, is two things. One is the withdrawal of the bill totally, and secondly is to set up an independent inquiry to look into the whole saga. These two demands is actually not only being raised by the young people, but we now know 2 million of people of Hong Kong, they walk on the street because of that. Not only that, the retired chief judge and a lot of the previous high-level government officials, they all have the same consensus or agreement that in order to solve that, the government through Carrie Lam must do something. But what we witnessed until today is entirely inaction. Nothing has been done. They don't even like to consider any proposal. And this will not solve the problem. This will not, convince the young people to stop demonstration. This will not stop Hong Kong people from going on the street. In fact, on coming Sunday, there will be another large-scale parade in Hong Kong.